Oriental Orthodoxy, also known as Old Oriental, Pre-Chalcedonian, Non-Chalcedonian, Miaphysite, and Monophysite Christianity, is the communion of churches in Eastern Christianity that recognizes only the first three ecumenical councils, the First Council of Nicaea in 325, the First Council of Constantinople in 381 and the Council of Ephesus in 431. This communion is composed of 6 autocephalous churches: the Armenian Apostolic Church, the Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria, the Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church, and the Syriac Orthodox Church. Oriental Orthodoxy has approximately 84 million adherents worldwide. These churches rejected the Chalcedonian definition of the Council of Chalcedon in 451 and, one by one, slowly discontinued the communion with the churches that recognize the definition, now known as Chalcedonians. The non-Chalcedonians did not participate in any of the later councils that the Chalcedonians held and recognize as ecumenical. The Second Council of Constantinople in 553, the Third Council of Constantinople in 680, and the Second Council of Nicaea in 787. This eventual bifurcation of communions represents the second and last conciliar-based schism in Nicene Christianity. Slow dialogue towards restoring communion between Oriental Orthodoxy and the rest of Christendom is underway. History. Post-Council of Chalcedon, the schism between the Oriental Orthodox and the rest of Christendom occurred in the 5th century. The separation resulted in part from the refusal of Pope Dioscorus I of Alexandria and the other 13 Egyptian bishops to accept the Christological dogmas promulgated by the Council of Chalcedon, which held that Jesus is in two natures, one divine and one human. They would accept only of from two natures, but not in two natures. To the hierarchs who would lead the Oriental Orthodox, the latter phrase was tantamount to accepting Nestorianism, which expressed itself in a terminology incompatible with their understanding of Christology. Nestorianism was understood as seeing Christ in two separate natures, human and divine, each with different actions and experiences. In contrast, Cyril of Alexandria advocated the formula, one nature of God, the incarnate Logos, stressing the unity of the Incarnation over all other considerations. It is not entirely clear that Nestorius himself was a Nestorian. The Oriental Orthodox churches were therefore often called Monophysite, although they reject this label, as it is associated with Eutychian monophysitism. They prefer the term Miaphysite. Oriental Orthodox churches reject what they consider to be the heretical Monophysite teachings of Apollinaris of Laodicea and Eutyches. The Miaphysite definition of the Council of Chalcedon and the Antiochian Christology of Theodore of Mopsuestia, Nestorius, Theodore, and Ibias of Edessa. Christology, although important, was not the only reason for the Alexandrian Church's refusal to accept the declarations of the Council of Chalcedon. Political, ecclesiastical and imperial issues were hotly debated during that period. In the years following Chalcedon, the Patriarchs of Constantinople intermittently remained in communion with the non-Chalcedonian Patriarchs of Alexandria and Antioch, while Rome remained out of communion with the latter and in unstable communion with Constantinople. It was not until 518 that the new Byzantine Emperor, Justin I, demanded that the Church in the Roman Empire accept the Council's decisions. Justin ordered the replacement of all non-Chalcedonian bishops, including the Patriarchs of Antioch and Alexandria. The extent of the influence of the Bishop of Rome in this demand has been a matter of debate. Justinian I also attempted to bring those monks who still rejected the decision of the Council of Chalcedon into communion with the Greater Church. The exact time of this event is unknown, but it is believed to have been between 535 and 548. Saint Abraham of Farshut was summoned to Constantinople, and he chose to bring with him 4 monks. Upon their arrival, Justinian summoned them and informed them that they would either accept the decision of the council or lose the positions. Abraham refused to entertain the idea. Theodora tried to persuade Justinian to change his mind, seemingly to no avail. Abraham himself stated in a letter to his monks that he preferred to remain in exile rather than subscribe to a faith which he believed to be contrary to that of Athanasius of Alexandria. 20th century. By the 20th century, the Chalcedonian schism was not seen with the same importance, and from several meetings between the authorities of the Holy See and the Oriental Orthodoxy, reconciling declarations emerged in the common statement of Syriac Patriarch Mar Ignatius Zacharias and the Roman Pope John Paul II in 1984. The confusions and schisms that occurred between the churches in the later centuries, they realize today, in no way affect or touch the substance of the faith, since these arose only because of differences in terminology and culture and in the various formulae adopted by different theological schools to express the same matter. Accordingly, we find today no real basis for the sad divisions and schisms that subsequently arose between us concerning the doctrine of incarnation. In words and life we confess the true doctrine concerning Christ our Lord, notwithstanding the differences in interpretation of such doctrine which arose at the time of the Council of Chalcedon. According to the canons of the Oriental Orthodox Churches, the 4 bishops of Rome, Constantinople, Alexandria and Antioch were all given status as patriarchs, in other words, the ancient apostolic centers of Christianity. By the First Council of Nicaea, each of the 4 patriarchs was responsible for those bishops and churches within his own area of the universal church. Thus, the Bishop of Rome has always been held by the others to be fully sovereign within his own area, as well as first among equals, due to the traditional belief that the apostles St. Peter and St. Paul were martyred in Rome. The technical reason for the schism was that the bishops of Rome and Constantinople excommunicated the non-Chalcedonian bishops in 451 for refusing to accept the into natures teaching, thus declaring them to be out of communion. The highest office in Oriental Orthodoxy is that of Patriarch. There are patriarchs within the local Oriental Orthodox communities of the Armenian, Coptic, Eritrean, Ethiopian, Syriac, and Indian Orthodox churches. The title of Pope, as used by the leading bishop of the Coptic Church, has the meaning of father, and is not a jurisdictional title. However, the Coptic Pope holds the honor of being first among equals, as the ecumenical patriarch does among the Eastern Orthodox, and as such he functions as the president of pan-jurisdictional gatherings of the Oriental Orthodox. Geographical distribution. According to the Encyclopedia of Religion, Oriental Orthodoxy is the most important in terms of the number of faithful living in the Middle East, which, along with other Eastern Christian communions, represent an autochthonous Christian presence whose origins date further back than the birth and spread of Islam in the Middle East. Quote, "It is the dominant religion in Armenia, the ethnically Armenian unrecognized Nagorno-Karabakh Republic internationally viewed as part of Azerbaijan, and in Ethiopia, especially in 2 regions in Ethiopia, Amhara and Tigray, as well as the chartered city of Addis Ababa. It is also one of 2 dominant religions in Eritrea." It is a minority in Egypt, Sudan, Syria, Lebanon and Kerala, India. In terms of total number of members, the Ethiopian Church is the largest of all Oriental Orthodox churches, and is second among all Orthodox churches among Eastern and Oriental churches. Also of particular importance of Oriental Orthodoxy churches are the Armenian Patriarchate of Constantinople in Turkey and the Armenian Apostolic Church of Iran. These Oriental Orthodoxy churches represent the largest Christian minority in both of these predominantly Muslim countries, Turkey and Iran. In recent years, several 100,000 former Protestants have converted and joined the Syriac Orthodox Church in Guatemala and to a lesser degree in Brazil and Venezuela. Oriental Orthodox Communion. The Oriental Orthodox Communion is a group of churches within Oriental Orthodoxy which are all in full communion with each other. The communion comprises Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria, French Coptic Orthodox Church, Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church, Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, Syriac Orthodox Church, Malankara Jacobite Syrian Christian Church, Armenian Apostolic Church, Mother See of Holy Echmiads and Holy See of Cilicia, Armenian Patriarchate of Constantinople, Armenian Patriarchate of Jerusalem, Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church. Internal disputes. There are numerous ongoing internal disputes within the Oriental Orthodox churches. These disputes result in lesser or greater degrees of impaired communion. Armenian Apostolic. The least divisive of these disputes is within the Armenian Apostolic Church, between the Catholicosate of Echmiadzin and the Catholicosate of the Great House of Cilicia. The division of the two Catholicosates stemmed from frequent relocations of church headquarters due to political and military upheavals. The division between the two sees intensified during the Soviet period. By some Western bishops and clergy, the Holy See of Echmiadzin was seen as a captive communist puppet. Sympathizers of this established congregations independent of Echmiadzin, declaring loyalty instead to the see based in Antelias in Lebanon. The division was formalized in 1956 when the Antelias see broke away from the Echmiadzin see. Though recognizing the supremacy of the Catholicos of all Armenians, the Catholicos of Cilicia administers the clergy and dioceses independently. The dispute, however, has not at all caused a breach in communion between the two churches. Ethiopia. In 1992, following the abdication of Abune Mercurios and election of Abune Paulos, some Ethiopian Orthodox bishops in the United States maintained that the new election was invalid, and declared their independence from the Addis Ababa administration. India. Indians who follow the Oriental Orthodox faith belong to two factions, the Malankara Jacobite Syrian Christian Church and the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church. These two factions are a division of the Syriac Orthodox Church, but a hierarchical dispute spanning just over 100 years has divided the church. The former is the legal name of the autonomous body of the Syriac Orthodox Church in India. It is also known as the Bhavakakshi of the Syriac Orthodox Church of Malankara. The local episcopal synod is led by the Catholicos of India. This Catholicos is ordained by and accountable to the Patriarch of the Syriac Orthodox Church. The Patriarch holds both temporal and spiritual control where the Catholicate has jurisdiction, however restricts exercising temporal power due to the nature of affairs and independent history of the Church. The latter, the Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church, also known as the Metron Kakshi of the Indian Orthodox faction, maintains that it is autocephalous. However, it accepts the Patriarch of Antioch as its spiritual head with no temporal powers. It is headed by the Catholicos of the Eastern Malankara Metropolitan. The two churches were united before 1912 and again from 1958 after reconciliation efforts, but again separated in 1975. Occasional confusions. The Assyrian Church of the East is sometimes incorrectly described as an Oriental Orthodox Church, though its origins lie in disputes that predated the Council of Chalcedon, and it follows a different Christology from Oriental Orthodoxy. The historical Church of the East was the Church of Greater Iran and declared itself separate from the state Church of the Roman Empire in 424–27 years before Chalcedon. Theologically, the Church of the East was affiliated with the Miaphysite doctrine of Nestorianism, and thus rejected the Council of Ephesus, which declared Nestorianism heretical in 431. The Christology of the Oriental Orthodox churches in fact developed as a reaction against Nestorian Christology, which emphasizes the distinctness of the human and divine natures of Christ. There are many overlapping ecclesiastical jurisdictions in India, mostly with a Syriac liturgical heritage centered in the state of Kerala. The autonomous Jacobite Syrian Christian Church, which comes under the Syriac Orthodox Church, is quite often confused with the autocephalous Malankara Orthodox Syrian Church, as the latter uses a similar name. Bibliography. Betts, Robert B. Christians in the Arab East, like Bettis Press. Charles R. H. The Chronicle of John, Bishop of Nicaea.